All right, this will be the first time I've ever had a beer from Uinta Brewing Company, which is out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Which, yes, beer exists in Salt Lake City, Utah. Who'd have thought? Utah is probably the number one most uh, alcohol uh, free state. I don't want to say alcohol free, but it's, you know what I mean. It's harder to get alcohol in Utah, liquor or beer, than it is in most other states. I think the next to last, or the next hardest, I should say, is Pennsylvania, where of course I am. But we are at least restricting some of those laws, or at least opening up some of those laws, I should say. Whereas I don't think Utah's made any headway whatsoever in that department. And I might be butchering the name. It's Uinta is the name of the brewery in Salt Lake City. It was founded back in 1993, so it's a relatively new brewery, even though 1993 was actually 22 years ago. Anyone born in 1993 can actually drink now, which is depressing to me because I was born in 1980. Their flagship beer is called the Cutthroat Pale Ale. And Uinta is named for Utah's state flag? Or is the Cutthroat Pale Ale named for the state flag? I don't know. I don't understand my handwriting here. It might be the Cutthroat that's named for it. First Utah company that was 100% wind powered. They went all to wind power in 2001, so a very progressive company. In August of 2014, they sold a percentage to a New York-based private equity firm to help expand. And I guess before 2014, you really couldn't find Uinta much anywhere in the East. And now here we are in Pennsylvania, easily able to get their beers. 77,000 barrels produced in 2014. And as of March of this year, that's 2015, it's available in 32 states plus Washington, D.C. So in the majority of states, you can get Uinta products. I guess I should learn how to pronounce it if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. Someone watching this, because it seems like a lot of people love to correct me on things, and it makes sense. We're doing craft beer. Craft beer snobs are everywhere. Not that that's a bad thing, but people tend to correct people in this field of learning and having fun, which is what craft beer is to me. So, yeah, am I pronouncing Uinta right? Or is it Winta? Is it Uinta? Or am I right with Uinta? Let me know. Anyway, let's go on to the beer we're doing. I don't think I've even mentioned what the heck beer we're doing. We're doing a beer called Nosh IPA. It's an American IPA brewed year-round. And it comes into us at 7.3%, so on that high end, that high echelon of India Pale Ales. It was formerly known as Hop Notch, actually, up until somewhat recently. They boast complex flavors, balanced, strong malts, backbone, citrusy nose, with a hint of pine and grass. So I'm kind of expecting a West Coast smell. Anytime I hear pine, anytime I see that word, I'm thinking West Coast IPA. When you're thinking East Coast, I'm thinking more grapefruit heavy, more dank grapefruit. When I'm thinking West Coast, I'm not only thinking grapefruit, I'm thinking pine and almost a winter chill, even though a lot of places in the West Coast don't get snow. I believe Salt Lake City does, though, obviously, because they had the Olympics there, the Winter Olympics. So there is the label of Hop Nosh, IPA, formerly Hop Notch. And I believe it won an award, or else they're just putting a picture of an award here for no reason. This is best before August 14th, 2015. Currently it is July 8th, so we're well within that time frame. Brewed with renewable power, wind, and solar. So there you have it. If you are a green-minded person, you will be very happy to hear that. As we pour it in here to a tulip glass, it's a very orange pour. Almost like I don't know, like maybe a Dogfish Head 90-minute kind of look to this beer. Very surprised at it's the dark orangey, just very lush kind of color to this beer, and almost no head. I mean, I'm getting like maybe, oh man, and it's dissipating. This kind of reminds me of like a double IPA. The way the head is just pretty much almost non-existent now. That's pretty amazing for just a beer that's considered a regular IPA, not a double. So let's get the aroma now of Uinta Hop Nosh IPA. Why did they change it from Notch to Nosh? I have no idea. Very subtle, very subtle. But you know what I'm getting is not much grapefruit, but a bit of pine. And I did dip my nose a little bit in it. But a very subtle aroma to this beer. And I'm getting almost no grapefruit. I'm getting almost solely a very subtle scent of pine. That's kind of amazing that the grapefruit smell is non-existent. Usually that's the one that kind of blows you away with a lot of these IPAs, but not in this case. 82 IBUs, by the way, so it's pretty high on the IBU mark. And oh, by the way, I failed to mention, 90 on Beer Advocate. Outstanding rating on Beer Advocate, even better rating on Rate Beer, which it gets a 96. So this is considered a very, very good beer by those two websites. Let's get the taste now. Oh, man. Okay. Getting, as far as the first taste goes, I'm getting almost no pine. Oh, yeah, I am getting a little bit of pine, I should say. And the aftertaste, very, very bitter on the back of the tongue. But I'm getting definitely a dank grapefruit taste. I'm getting no grapefruit smell, but I'm getting a dank grapefruit taste from Uinta Hop Nosh. Oh man, there's so much going on in this beer. Very dank grapefruit. Oh my god, I'm like, ugh, bitter almost. Like just, well, not almost, definitely bitter. Bitter in the back of the tongue. Just really, really like a harsh taste to this. This is really pervading my entire tongue. It's tasting a little more like an East Coast IPA to me, which not as big of a fan of the East Coast stuff than a West Coast. However, a little harsh, serviceable, and I'm kind of surprised. I really thought this one would stand out, but it's really not standing out too much for me. I'm gonna go ahead and get, and you know, if you have an IPA or a double IPA, it really has to be great to be one of the higher echelon ones. This is such a saturated beer style nowadays. It's got to be the most, as far as craft beer, it's got to be the most saturated style. So if you're going to be good in this style, you got to be unbelievably great. I'm going to go ahead and give Uinta Hop Nosh IPA. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Good, not great. You know, in the vast scheme of things, an IPA is going to get lost in the mix, to me at least. It's got a very Dogfish Head look to it. The aroma is baffling to me in that I'm smelling no grapefruit. I'm getting mostly pine and a very subtle smell of pine. Taste-wise, it's just very bitter, even for an IPA. I know IPAs are bitter, and it has 82 IBUs after all, but man, it's harsh. Man, this IPA is harsh. You better love bitter stuff to really like this. But yeah, I just and they are right about the strong malt backbone. There is a bit of maltiness in this as well. So this is more of an East Coast IPA than a West Coast, even though it's brewed west of the Rockies in Salt Lake City, just west of the Rockies. So there you have it. Uinta Hop Nosh IPA, a 7 out of 10.